Welcome to the Straight Indian Talk channel. I am your host, Samir Patel. Here we expose the devilish lies of men who profess their fear of the Most High Yah. Today's episode deconstructs Pastor Charles Dowell's latest message, Tithes and Offerings, from November 9th, 2024. In this message, Dowell discusses the importance of monetary offerings and tithes. He encourages cheerful and generous giving and explains the role of contributions in maintaining and expanding the ministry of Straightway. At 55 minutes, Dowell addresses common arguments against tithing, emphasizing that regardless of one's background or beliefs, the laws and guidelines set forth in the Hebrew scriptures still apply. He discusses the three types of tithes, their purposes, and their biblical significance in supporting various groups like the Levites, widows, orphans, and ministers. Dowell explains the importance of tithing as an act of obedience to Yah's principles and warns against the curses that may come from neglecting these obligations, referencing the book of Malachi. Dowell states various ways in which people may be cursed for not fulfilling their obligations to Yah in the form of being lazy, falsely charging Yah, or neglecting to pay their debts and tithes. Now let us expose the lies. In the time of Jesus, the Levitical priesthood was replaced by the Hasmonean priests. These priests were Benjamites, and this priesthood was disbanded around 70 CE when the temple was destroyed. Therefore, tithing to the priest class ended then. Additionally, the word tithe, in its original meaning, refers to a tenth. So most monetary givings would not truly classify as a tithe by the original definition of the word. Also, while it is true that Melchizedek or Jesus received tithes, he was the Messiah and a present. Clearly, Dowell is not a priest or the Word made flesh. That is, of course, unless he has a Messiah complex. At 1 hour and 30 minutes, Dowell talks about the importance of supporting ministers financially and stresses the reciprocity of the relationship between the ministers and their congregation, emphasizing the biblical endorsement of providing for those who lead and shepherd the community. This seems convincing at face value, but once again, we shall expose the lies. When Paul was addressing the Corinthians, he outlined temple management and the need for tithing at that time. However, Paul finishes the letter stating that the ministering of the gospel is without charge, and he wished to avoid abusing his power. Paul was able to provide for himself through his trade of making tents. Of course, he enjoyed the hospitality of various assemblies, but clearly Paul was financially independent. In conclusion, Dowell passionately emphasizes the importance of giving tithes and offerings, stating that it supports the ministry's work and allows for the spreading of the message to save others. He admonishes those who complain about giving, likening it to cursing and having a negative mindset. However, keep in mind that both Christian pastors and Dowell often preach on the tithe as means for their own self-indulgence. In the end, your financial giving to the Most High and His gospel is not only giving to your pastor, and giving to your pastor is certainly not a tithe. If you choose to give, this should always be a free will offering. Bring offerings for yourself and your family at the feasts and give to your brothers and sisters in need. This is straight Indian talk. Blessings and let the truth reign. Shalom.